everyone, and welcome back to the Joy-Filled Universe podcast. I am your host, Lisa Ryan, and I'm really looking forward to today's pod, and I'll tell you why. I have been looking back on some of the more popular pods for the Joy-Filled Universe because I'm always so curious to see what areas of self-development are really getting the most attention. And one of the pods that appears to have gotten lots of downloads was the one on finding our purpose. So I was thinking about that pod going into the July 4th holiday, which for those of you who don't live in the United States, July 4th is our Independence Day holiday. Anyway, for a bit of my holiday weekend, I had the opportunity to spend some time with 4 young people who are at the very tail end of their college careers. And we were all out to lunch one day, and I was curious to learn about their majors and their thoughts about their future, asking them things like, where are you going next? And what makes you feel happy? And what are your next steps? What do you think? What are you dreaming of? All of these questions that can really feel pretty exciting and terrifying all at the same time, especially when you're in your 20s. I mean, let's face it, they are really big questions. And quite frankly, I still ask myself those questions today. And sadly, I'm long past my 20s. Anyway, this one particular young lady, she really held my attention because while she talked about her major, which happened to be journalism, she spoke about it as if to say, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it yet. At least that was the vibe that I kind of got from her. So because I'm a human that really values and loves writing, I informed her about how unique I found this particular skill set of writing to really be. I told her about my experience of working with lots of people of all different skill levels and ages, and how I have found that really they don't technically have the desire or the knack for writing, and they often tend to struggle with writing a memo or a composition paper, an essay, heck, even just writing a simple letter. And I shared this with this young lady along with messaging how people in general struggle with writing or even just telling a good story. And when I said that, her eyes just lit up and she said, "Ooh, I love creative writing and I'm really, really good at it." And from that energy, I decided to pull the thread on that high vibe and I said, and that is a gift that so many people are going to truly appreciate when you move out into the world, because it's a really rare and sought after skill set. Perhaps, if you think about it, it just might be your superpower. And from that exchange with this young lady, she smiled. She sat up a bit taller. Her shoulders moved back. Her eyebrows were just flexing with joy. And her eyes even got a bit brighter with the reminder that she had something special and unique, a rare gift that she gets to share with the world. And it was from that exchange, along with the awareness of how popular the Purpose Pod was and is becoming, and I thought to myself, oh, I know what the pod is that I'm going to work on next. We are going to work on finding our superpower, that extra special ingredient that gives us that bright light that illuminates from within and attracts all sorts of joy and love when we let it unapologetically shine. Now, the reason I brought up the Purpose podcast, and if you haven't listened to it yet, how rude. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Seriously, if you haven't listened, give it a try because I'm not going to go too deep into purpose on this particular pod today. So cue it up if you haven't had the opportunity to do it yet, because it gives you a really good insight into knowing what your purpose is and helping you find your purpose if you're not exactly sure. You think you do, but not sure. Anyway, give it a go. So I will say, for the sake of this pod, I'm going to just notate that our purpose is the impact that we make in the world. It's not what we are doing, it's the why behind what we are doing and the energy that we bring when living into that why. And purpose, it evolves as we evolve. And a person's superpower, well, that's their unique talent or strength that is in alignment with purpose. And it is the how our purpose is expressed. So when we are in like perfect alignment, our superpower lends itself to our overarching purpose, and it has this terrific way of resonating with those around us, like a terrific and fascinating energy. And when we truly own it, we just like thrive and we feel like a superhero. Yeah, we feel like a superhero when we're thriving in our superpower. So your why is your purpose, your belief, the reason you get out of bed. It's not about what you do or how you do it, but why it matters. And now, to further clarify how purpose and superpower work together, I'm going to break it down like this. Your superpower, well, it's what you are naturally amazing at, often without even trying. Your purpose, it's the impact that you are meant to make with that particular gift. Your superpower, it's like your tool or vehicle, and your purpose is like your destination or mission. And so examples of superpowers can include empathy, intuition, storytelling, motivating others, perceptive awareness, intuitively listening. And for that young lady that I shared a bit of my Independence Day with, well, I would say her superpower, from the creative writing energy that she showed, I would say that it's expressive messaging through creative writing. So examples of purpose then would include empowering others to believe in themselves and live confidently, or inspiring others to discover their potential and to be courageous. So in essence, when we are looking to align our actions and values with our why, we are in turn creating our how. And this is a really magical experience because this is when our purpose becomes tangible through our superpower. Now, some examples of our superpower in action could be, say, your why is empowering others to grow. Your superpower might be your ability to listen deeply, ask the right questions, or create environments where people feel safe to take risks. Perhaps if you're a teacher and your why is inspiring curiosity, your superpower could be storytelling that makes lessons captivating and unforgettable. Maybe your purpose or why is to create safe, empowering spaces where people can discover their true potential. Then your superpower is likely making people feel seen, heard, and valued. I have a friend actually that I truly believe her why is building community, and her superpower, it's that she is incredible at connecting people. All people, despite their differences, she has a really terrific way of bringing folks together. So your unique gift or superpower, it enables your mission, your why, and your purpose. And when we know our purpose, we often stay motivated, aligned, and fulfilled. And by knowing our superpower, we stayed focused on what we do best and create a meaningful impact with less resistance or burnout. And when you combine the two, well, we have clarity and we have confidence and we have, of course, established and magical momentum, which is energizing in and of itself. I'm just going to say that. Okay, now before we dive into some of the tools that we can use to help with discovering our superpower, I want to share mine with all of you. So when I was a child, I would attend events and gatherings with my parents, and I would be an extremely curious observer. I would watch how people behaved, their expressions, their overall way of interacting. And from that, I would hone in on their idiosyncrasies, which is a behavior or thought that is really special and unique to a particular person. So when we would eventually like leave the gathering and we'd head home, I would later reenact what I observed for my parents, and they would laugh and they would know exactly who I was impersonating. And although they too might have observed these behaviors, they didn't really see them like I did. And they would often say things like, "How do you see these things?" or "You're so perceptive." And I'm going to say that this is something I have done for my whole life. So, for example, even to date, my mom, when she is standing up and thinking through a decision, she often toggles her hand gently back and forth as her arm hangs against her side. And my dad, well, when he laughs really hard and truly finds something so energetically funny, he will use his thumb and his index finger to rub his eyes that have a tendency to turn into these two little happy arches on his face, and they happen to just fit very neatly under his fingers. It is really, really very, very sweet. And then my boyfriend, he's not going to get away from this one. I'm going to call him out. When my boyfriend, Michael, when he is intently listening, he often pushes his glasses up on top of his head and he rests his head on his left hand with his index finger on his temple and his thumb kind of tucked under his chin. And then his right hand just rests comfortably on his left arm, right where his elbow is bent. It's really very funny. That's when I know he's like super tuned in to whatever's either on the TV or what's on the news that he's listening to, or if I'm talking to him, he stays very focused. And that's when I know, like, okay, he's tuned in. All right. So from childhood straight through being an adult, I have been very aware of my superpower, which is truly picking up on quiet tells that people have. And what's cool about superpowers, unlike purpose, which evolves as we evolve, superpowers often stay with us and always seem to enhance our purpose at every stage in our lives. And I must admit, I use my superpower all the time for my friends, my family, my coworkers, all the people I have the pleasure of being around. I learn their idiosyncrasies and I tune into them. So I know when they need a shoulder to lean on, or looking for someone to celebrate with, or anything in between. I often beat them to the punch because I observe and I know their tells, and I show up for them however they need me to be there. And I usually hear things like, "How did you know?" or "I needed that. Your timing is perfect." And that makes me feel awesome. And it immediately shows up as a tangible expression of my purpose, which is my desire to really, truly provide people with all the tools and tricks that they need to be the very best versions of themselves, all while experiencing joy in their hearts and feeling seen and valued and appreciated. So, are you now starting to see how this all really comes together? How our why meets our how? It is so, so cool. I love it. And it really lights me up because it's actually pretty obvious after you become fully aware of it. And I also want to add that we can certainly have more than one superpower, because another one of mine is laughing. I love to laugh. I always have. And again, since a child, the only reason I would get in trouble in school was for laughing too much and not being able to contain my laughter in classes. Seriously, I would get kicked out of a class just because I could not stop laughing. And it certainly is a superpower of mine because it aligns to my purpose, which is genuine joy. I love being happy and I love expressing it and showing how I'm happy by just laughing and enjoying life. So how about you? As I have been talking, have you been thinking about your superpower? Perhaps you're still thinking. That's okay, and is a perfectly acceptable answer. Because now we are going to explore some of the ways that we can uncover your extra special and unique gift, otherwise known as your superpower. So we are going to start with a really fun tool. And I personally love this one because I feel like our superpowers are often invisible to the one who actually has them. That's right. You often don't even know what your superpower is until you exercise this tool. And that entails asking others for a little help in hand to point it out. So ask 5 to 10 people that you interact with fairly often, or even those that you might not see that often, but they're people who have known you for a long time. And it could be coworkers, it could be friends, it could be family. And personally, I would go with all of the above. Ask all of them, pepper it through, and get a really good control set of feedback. And ask questions like, what's something I've done for you that made a real difference? Or what do you think I am uniquely good at? Or when do you see me at my best? And include yourself in this research too. Ask yourself some questions like, what do I do easily that I assume it's easy for everyone? And then after you have kind of vetted these questions and organized them and collected all of your information together, look for patterns in how you have helped, how you have showed up, not just what you did, because it's this that will be your shining display of an energetic signature, which is otherwise known as your superpower in action. It's a goodie. You should give it a try. Now, another technique is taking stock in received compliments. So go back through old text messages or old emails, old testimonials, reviews, comments, DMs, whatever it is, any types of feedback, old letters if you get some snail mail. What are the reoccurring compliments that you have received? Are you hearing things like, you always know just what to say, or you help me see things differently. You calm me down. You remind me of my power in a situation. You helped me to feel valuable and appreciated. You taught me to dream big, knowing that my thoughts become things. Things like that. You hear things like that. Collect all of these compliments. And I bet that once you tune into them, you will find that there are lots of folks that provide some pretty terrific feedback to you on a routine basis. And guess what? These are all direct reflections of your superpower. Yes, take stock in those notes. Go look at them today. I mean, I bet you're going to discover, oh my God, it's been staring me right in the face. It's very exciting. Okay, now another cool way of discovering your superpower is something called the contrast method. This one is kind of fun and oddly enough, very effective because sometimes what triggers us is often the inverse of our superpower. So for example, ask yourself, what frustrates me about how other people operate? And some responses to that question could be, if disorganization drives you crazy, perhaps your superpower is clarity, structure, reliability, or follow through. In short, your superpower could be bringing order to chaos. If you're triggered when people aren't listening or talking over each other, perhaps your superpower is active or deep listening, creating safe space for people. And in short, your superpower in a situation like this could be your ability to create a sense of being present and providing connection for others. And let's see, how about if you're triggered when people show up with super negative attitudes and they complain a bunch and don't ever seem to take any action? Well, then your superpower would likely be optimism, problem solving, and feelings of empowerment, which means you're a person who brings light to a situation and is a solution finder. So as you can see, the contrast method can flip our triggers into clues. Our frustrations actually reveal where we naturally shine. So what others can't or don't do, we do without thinking. And that effortless gift is our superpower in disguise. Okay, now moving right along, the next technique is absolutely, in my opinion, a silver lining because It's all about looking at our shadow character traits and flipping them to reveal our superpower. That's right. For awareness, our shadow traits are the parts of us that we judge, we hide, or struggle with. So, what sometimes feels like a flaw could actually be our superpower in overdrive. And what I mean by that is someone who is a person pleaser, someone who's a people pleaser, I should say, could yield a superpower that is deep empathy and emotional attunement. Or a perfectionist, right? A superpower for a perfectionist could be high standards and excellence. How about an overachiever? Their superpower could be strategic depth, insight, or problem solving. Procrastination, superpower, inner timing or discernment. For those procrastinators out there, when the timing is right, you become so focused, you're like a sprinter who delivers fast results. I like to think of it that way because I can sometimes be a procrastinator. All right, sensitive. Well, superpower could be that you have a fine-tuned emotional radar. So if somebody says to you, you're too sensitive, you can say, no, I actually just have a fine-tuned emotional radar. I like that. Anger or impatience. How about that? Superpower? It's likely justice and action. And how about a need for external validation? Maybe your superpower is awareness of human value. If you're dreamy or people consider you to be unrealistic, your superpower could just be that you have vision and a deep imagination. And how about if you're someone who avoids conflict? Well, your superpower then, harmony and diplomacy. So basically, in this exercise, you name the trait that we have that feels limiting or annoying, and then ask yourself, what gift is this trying to express? Albeit in a distorted kind of way, but what's the gift that it's trying to express? And then reframe or flip it and say, when I do this trait with awareness, it becomes my power to do what? And fill in the blank. That shadow flip is truly a fabulous way of finding the silver lining to traits that you may not be particularly fond of. And in turn, you're transforming the shadows into refined superpowers. Okay, so let's do one more. And this is called creating a you amplified list. And to do this, we complete the following sentence about 5 to 10 times, but whatever feels comfortable for you. And when I say sentence, I just want to say one thing. Don't keep it limited to just a sentence if you're in a flow. Don't overthink it either. Just write what's coming to mind, right? Okay, good. So the sentence is, when I am being fully me, I fill in the blank. So when I'm being fully me, I ... And do this a bunch of times. And then when you're complete, take time to notice the patterns in how you show up. What is the energy that you bring? What are you doing that lights you up? What comes through you naturally and effortlessly? So for example, when I am being fully me, I get wildly excited about new ideas. I dream big and help others know that what they might think is impossible is actually possible. Or I energize people just by showing up fully alive. That is all of mine that I can think of quickly off the top of my head. So what's consistent here? I'm going to say it's excitement, energy, dreaming, lots of creativity and energy. So the superpower, it's likely creative activation and igniting the flame of passion inside of others. Yes, I like that. And like most exercises of this nature, when you are looking to discover clarity, do me a favor and write your list when you are in a high energy, high vibe state, because that is always going to bring the best out of you. Don't judge what comes up for you. No, because guess what? Odd or subtle things are often pointing right to your magic. So again, look for verbs or energies that are repeating in your sentences, and then ask yourself, what is this saying about the unique and extra special way I show up in this world? Because what you will most likely discover, well, that's like your energetic superpower, right? It's your energy, your superpower in motion. It's all of those things, cape and all. So there you have it. There you have it, folks. Exciting ways to build upon our purpose by exploring our fascinating superpowers. Our purpose is why we are here. Our superpower is how the universe chooses for us to deliver that purpose to this incredible world. And discovering our superpower isn't about becoming someone new. No, it's about remembering who we have always been. It's that quiet, powerful moment when we genuinely realize the very thing we thought was just how we are is actually our greatest gift. So give it a go. Get feedback from friends, family, and coworkers. Take stock in compliments you often and consistently receive. Give that contrast method a go and flip that shadow trait and bring your superpower to light. And don't forget to spend some time with yourself and create the You Amplified list. All of these things are really exciting ways to connect with our superpower and consciously embody the impact that we have on the world. And living from our superpower doesn't just serve others, it fulfills us because we are finally living in harmony with our essence, our why, and our how, which lends itself to showing up every day even brighter than we did the day before. So get out there, superheroes, because together we are changing the world in all the best ways, right? To infinity and beyond. Buzz Lightyear, sorry, I digress. I absolutely love Toy Story. Okay, so on that extra energy charged note, I hope that you found today's pod to be superpower full. Definitely punny, I know. And if you did, please do me a solid and rate, follow, write a review, share it with a friend. All of this really helps me out with getting the pod noticed on Apple and Spotify and Amazon and Audible and all the platforms where you listen to podcasts. So thank you so much for listening. I am your host, Lisa Ryan. This is the Joy-Filled Universe podcast, where we explore all the tools and tricks that are going to make your universe even more joyful than it already is. I will see you next week, superstars. Bye.